Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome back to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series we're following the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and today I've decided to show a really wild attacking game played by two legends of the sport. Today we'll see the magician from Riga Mikhail Tal versus the boa constrictor Anatoly Karpov. So this clash was really a clash of styles, because we have to say these two guys had really different styles. First of all, we had the great wizard, the great attacker, the great tactician Mikhail Tal. On the other hand, we had really the best positional player in the world, Anatoly Karpov, who was really a great player when it comes to positional understanding of the position. He always found a good way how to improve his minor pieces. He always found a way how to trade off maybe his best piece, his bad piece against his opponent's good piece on the board. So he was really a different player. He always found opportunities how to improve the position a little bit more and more, and then he strangled you really in the boa constrictor way, in a slow but of course beautiful way. As I said, these are different styles. I'm not saying which style is better, but in my opinion, in order to play in a decent level of chess, you have to understand both styles. Sometimes in chess you have to make a tactic when you have a beautiful attacking formation, when your opponent's king is naked. Then it's not time anymore to search for improvements of the minor piece. You have to strike with some tactics. On the other hand, sometimes where there are no tactical solutions of the game, you have to know where to improve your pieces, where to place your pieces, how to improve maybe your pawn structure or something. So these are the tiny little differences of styles, but it doesn't matter. As I said, this was really incredible how both players played the game, and I really loved both styles. When it comes to tactics, we wanted to always, of course, watch the beautiful games by Misha, but also when it comes to strategic understanding, I also loved Karpov's Brilliancies. Karpov was also a great tactician. He found also great tactical solutions in the game, but I think his primary goal was not to dive into tactics immediately. He wanted to play first solid positions, and when maybe the position allowed it, then he struck with some immortal tactics. So let's see now what happened. The game was played in 1987. This was maybe not the peak level of Mikhail Tal, but still he was a respected grandmaster also in the 80s. You never wanted to face, I think, Mikhail Tal when he had this day, because many times, Mikhail Tal played the best game of the week, or maybe the game of the day, maybe the game of the month, maybe even the game of the year. He played many times, but you don't want to be, of course, on the other side of the game when you're playing maybe the game of the year or something. So let's see now what happened. Here Mikhail Tal played with the white pieces and Anatoly Karpov with the black pieces. So e4 was played by the wizard Mikhail Tal, and now you see already Karpov is saying here with the move c6 that he's trying to go into normal structures of the Caro-Kann, and what the Caro-Kann player is probably hoping for is this line d4, maybe d5, and then maybe after something like e5, at least the pawn structure in the center is blocked. So it means now that this is really the positional game. You're not find, I think, tactical solutions in the game immediately. So that's, I think, a favorable opening for more positional player. Tactical player, I think, don't like to play Caro-Kann defenses or something. But here Mikhail Tal is already in the second move saying to Anatoly Karpov, no, my friend, you're not going to play positional games against me. We're diving into tactics immediately. Here with the move c4, Mikhail Tal played this beautiful accelerated Panov attack, and you see now there are now basically two choices. How are you going to make progress in this position? You can play, of course, the move d6, but I think with the move d6 you're not in the Caro-Kann anymore. It's a whole different story if you play now the move d6, if you are not breaking in the center. So you play probably here d4, and after that, I don't know, maybe something like knight to f6, knight to c3, and g6. You have reached maybe a similar position like in the King's Indian. So you're basically playing against sort of a tactical opening. And here after move c4, basically here Mikhail Tal provoked now Anatoly Karpov to play an open game. You see with the move c4, maybe it's not the best suggested move by the engine or something. Maybe it's a risky move, but at least Mikhail Tal decoyed here a little bit Anatoly Karpov to play his opening style. So here after move e takes d5, we have c takes d5, c takes d5, and you see now we have an open center, so the game is not positional anymore, the game is now tactical, like Mikhail Tal loved to play the game. So now knight to f6, you don't want to take, of course, with the queen, then your opponent will get an extra tempo with knight to c3, knight to f6, knight to c3, knight takes d5 in the center, knight to f3, after knight takes c3, b takes c3. This was maybe a risky line for Anatoly Karpov. Maybe a more solid way to play the game is knight to c6, not allow your opponent here to improve the pawn structure in the center of the board, because we have to say it, the downside about this opening by Mikhail Tal is that you are left with an isolated pawn on the d file. So white has an isolated pawn, which can be sometimes a strategic disadvantage in the game. But after move knight to c6, you're keeping your opponent like this. But after move knight to c3, you're actually improving here with b takes c3 your opponent's pawn structure. Now we have this hanging pawn structure, which is also sometimes a disadvantage in the game. But I think with c3 d4, at least white doesn't have to worry about the d pawn anymore, so white has a good compensation. So as I said, maybe knight to c6 slightly more accurate, but okay, here Anatoly Karpov played knight to c3, we have b takes c3, and now g6 d4, pretty standard stuff, bishop to g7, and now bishop to d3, kingside castling, and also kingside castling by Mikhail Tal. So knight to c6, so this move is of course a preparation to break through here with the move e5. So that's the only way to make progress, I think, here for black in a good way. Queen to a5 is also, I think, a solid attack. Maybe something like bishop to d7, or maybe bishop to g4. Then also rook to c8 is an opportunity to maybe to attack this backward pawn on the c file. So these are the strategic goals of black. So here after move knight to c6, Mikhail Tal played the normal rook to e1. He's not allowing e5 breakthroughs immediately, because if that happens in a good way, then also f5 could happen, maybe then later e4 if the position allows it. So black is trying to break and enter now with the move e5, and now comes already maybe the first inaccuracy in the game played by Karpov. He played the rook to e8. He's preparing this e5 breakthrough, of course, but I think the more aggressive way to play e5 is to simply pin the knight, which is, in my opinion, perfectly fine. Look at this. If h3 happens, if you try to kick away here then the bishop, black will simply take bishop to f3, queen takes f3, and now with queen to a5, as we said, we are attacking now the backward pawn. When you defend it, then with e5 or rook to c8, rook to d8 is going to happen. We will attack simply these two pawns in the center of the board, this hanging pawn structure. Now this bishop will be the best minor piece on the board. So this was maybe a way to go. I think e5 would be now a realistic chance here for black. But okay, after move rook to e8, here bishop to g5 was played by Mikhail Tal. He's not allowing again e5, so he prevented this idea again in a beautiful tactical way. But actually again with bishop to g4, queen to a5, Anatoly Karpov had the chance to not allow his opponent to battle for the e5 square immediately. So again, Anatoly Karpov didn't play this move bishop to g4. I'm not sure why he didn't play it. He played now a really risky move bishop to e6, and his probably goal here in this position with the move bishop to e6 was maybe after something like h3. Let's see what happens if you play h3. Then actually with bishop to d5, here black is taking over. So here probably Anatoly Karpov wanted to cement his position around the square d5, and he would eventually maybe now even play the move e6, because you see c4 in this types of position is not an opportunity anymore, because it will simply take out the key defender of the d4 square. And now with knight to d4, the game is basically over here for white. So this was of course here Anatoly Karpov's idea to again go into a positional game with bishop to d5, but of course Mikhail Tal never allowed this game to become positional. He now sacrificed in move 13 already his rook for the exchange. Really wild tactical shot, rook to e6. So what to do? You have to take, of course, you have to accept this gift by Mikhail Tal. It's of course not a gift. This was the correct move. This was the brilliant move move by Mikhail Tal after f takes e6. Now bishop to c4. Now we know where we should attack. At least now the e6 is a huge positional, but of course also a tactical problem in the game. So queen to d6, protecting the pawn. Queen to e2, continuing simply to build up the attack here, simply continue the pressure around the square e6. So knight to d8 protects of course the e6 pawn, but we have to say it now, black has lost a very important element of the opening stage. Black has lost now the rook connection. The rooks are supposed to be connected whenever you have the opportunity, because rooks are playing combined together the best. So now with the move knight to d8, black lost now this beautiful strategic element. So we have here rook to e1, continue the pressure here around the square e6, rook to c8, and now you don't want to take, of course, bishop to e6, knight to e6 will simply take it out here, then queen to e6. So it's not simply working, because you giving up simply your main attacking chance, and now also your pawn on c3 is hanging. So it's not working here for white. So here the continuation after move knight to rook to c8, knight to d2 was played, simply protecting now the bishop. For a while we have king to h8, getting out of this mess, and now we have knight to e4, simply kicking away the queen now from this very important square d6. So we have now queen to c7, and now bishop to b3. Here Mikhail Tal found a beautiful way, beautiful tactical way how to keep his bishop on this diagonal, and how to actually protect even his pawn on c3 and include also the knight into the game. So this was really a cool maneuver by Mikhail Tal. He played a couple of moves with the knight, but he now centralized the knight, protected the pawn, and kept his beautiful bishop's activity. So we have now e5. So finally you see Karpov made this goal that he wanted to play many times in the game. He played now the move e5, but he had, I think, previously the chance with the move bishop to g4, as we said, when he could have pinned Mikhail Tal with the move bishop to g4. Then he had really a beautiful opportunity to push the pawn now to e5. Now e5 is simply too slow, because we have to say it, in this position Anatoly Karpov has here a lack of defenders in front of the king. He has of course this beautiful bishop, but only two pawns are in front of the king, and this bishop is slicing here on this diagonal, so the black's king will never escape now towards the center anymore. So now Mikhail Tal found a beautiful opportunity how to dismantle further black's position, because he tried now h4 h5, and then when the queen is coming into the game, I'm not seeing good ways how you're going to defend your position here around the square h7. So we have now e takes d4, we have now h5, simply continuing the pressure. The problem is now, of course, you cannot play here d takes c3, you cannot continue here your attack, because you cannot play d takes c3 because h takes g6 is going to happen. Now you have to play something like h6, and now we just include the queen into the attack, and here we'll take bishop to h6, queen to h6, and you're probably going to get checkmated. So really wild stuff. No time here to take out the pawn on c3. But here the continuation of the game, Anatoly Karpov played g takes h5, and now comes really one of the critical moments of this game. So now Mikhail Tal had the opportunity to seal the game immediately. He had the opportunity to win the game immediately. Maybe you can pause the video and find now the best tactical solution here of the game. Mikhail Tal, unfortunately for the beauty of the game, didn't find this tactical shot. So maybe take your time, pause the video, as I said, test your mind in chess, try to see now really the best continuation, because it was really wild how Mikhail Tal missed this opportunity in the 60s. I think Mikhail Tal would not miss this move for sure. So okay, here Mikhail Tal played queen to h5, and still this is perfectly fine for position, because the bishop is coming into the game. You will probably here try your tactic around the square h7, but the better way, and unfortunately, as we said, Mikhail Tal misses, was to play knight to f6. Knight to f6 is winning the game immediately, because look at this, you cannot take e takes f6 or something, you will lose. The rook also happens when you play with the move bishop to f6. So after move knight to f6 here, you could maybe try to include your knight into the defense. You can play here maybe something like knight to h7, after move knight to f7. Of course, you're protecting now the position here a little bit in front of your king, but then we simply take knight takes e8, rook takes e8. We can also take out the knight, so this is also not working. What you could do is also play maybe the move knight to c6. You don't have to, I think, maybe play with your knight here on f7, where the bishop is of course attacking. Then we simply play queen to h5, and there's not a good way anymore to protect the h7. If you take now e takes f6, then the problem is now we have a beautiful attack around the square e8, so it's again not working. So this is simply game over. So really wild stuff here, what unfortunately Mikhail Tal missed. So he took now the pawn. He didn't play this move knight to f6. Now rook to f8 was played. That was the only defensive move here for Anatoly Karpov. We have here bishop to c2. Now look at this. This move is coming now with a beautiful attack around the square h7, but now queen to e5. The queen is coming into defense, and basically from this point on, Anatoly Karpov has actually defended the position. Now Anatoly Karpov has at least a chance maybe to play a draw here. So really wild stuff. So what did Mikhail Tal here? He realized that the queen has come into defense. He tried now to deflect the queen really in a beautiful tactical way. Again, he sacrificed now another rook. So basically here in this game, Mikhail Tal sacrificed both of his rooks. Really wild stuff. So now the queen is deflected. We have here queen to e1, king to h2, but now comes another critical moment, and that was now, I think, the most important moment of the game. Here Anatoly Karpov didn't react correctly. He had an opportunity to defend the position. He played the game the move h6, which was a crucial mistake. So the game is basically over after this move. This is simply not working because you get simply bishop to h6 and you get destroyed here on the h file. Maybe you can again pause the video and try to see the best defensive move here for black. It's not h6, so try to see now a different solution here for black, because this is really a draw. This is simply a drawish position now. Okay, take your time. It's really hard to see this tactic, so okay, a better way is simply to play bishop to h6, and you see now if you play queen to h6, then rook to f7 is going to happen. So now this pawn is defended. So you have to take actually with the bishop here, bishop to h6. Now rook to f7 is again protecting now the pawn on h7, but now bishop to h7 would be the best move here for white, because rook to h7 is not an opportunity, because you get simply queen to e8. Here it's again a checkmate. You don't have also time to take out with the king because you're getting in front of the queen. Now bishop to d2, and would simply take out the queen. So the only defensive move after move bishop to h6 here is to play rook to f7. Now after bishop to h7, we have to play here something like rook to c6, including a new defender into the game. And now with bishop to f5, white should probably continue the pressure, but now we have to even sacrifice the rook for the bishop here, queen to h6, and now the king is stepping back here. White can play maybe just some perpetuals, and black should never go here, because then you get pinned here and something, and maybe then it's a risky game. But still, as I said, here perpetual would be possible for both sides, so this should probably end in a draw. So unfortunately for the game, here bishop to h6 was not played for Anatoly Karpov. He played now the move h6, but after move h6 the game is over. Basically here bishop to h6, we have king to g8. Now bishop to g8, we have rook to f2. It doesn't matter because the queen is coming into the game. We have here king to f7, queen to g6, another check. We have here bishop to h6, king to h8, and after queen to g7, it was a beautiful checkmate here by Mikhail Tal. But you see, Mikhail Tal had this aura above him, because he had really this tactical style, and many of his opponents were simply scared when he tried this attacks or something. You see, even Anatoly Karpov, who was really a great defender, didn't find here tactical solutions. He played h6, so it was really incredible. But I think the psyche here was also present very much in the game. You see from the beginning where Mikhail Tal played this accelerated Panov attack with the move c4. He played the open game. He played this really tactical shot. So here Karpov got punished because of simply too much passive play, too much position play, and here it was, in my opinion, really a tactical brilliancy by the magician from Riga, really one of the best games of all time. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. Really enjoyed it a lot. It's really wild attacking ideas here for both sides. If you want to see more of these beautiful attacking games, check out my common chess games, the best chess games of all time series. Here's our link, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.